Go where your best prayers take you, unclench the fists of your spirit and take it easy. Breathe deeply of the glad air and live one day at a time. Know that you are precious and learn to trust. Amen. Well, good morning, and thank you for being such good sports as we learn how to do and navigate this space together. But thank you, and we had quite a few take us up for coming a little earlier today, so it kind of helps the numbers. And we'll learn how to scooch in and do pews and chairs and stuff. We'll figure it out. I got up really early. In fact, I just didn't sleep very well, to be quite honest. I haven't slept well all week because we've had so many details. The chapter's been here, so many people have been here, Altar Guild, Flower Guild, trying to sort all this out. And we've done it. It's not a big deal. It felt like a big deal, and I think I was anxious. But I woke up super early this morning, probably multiple times, but finally about 4:45, I said, I'm done with this. I'm going to get up. So guess what I did first? I got a cup of coffee. Of course, that's what I did. But guess what I did second? I went out on the porch, and I looked up, and guess what I saw? Stars. I sure did. And you know what that told me? It's going to be sunny outside. So look around. And it's great. I love all these windows. That's the good part. And I was up early and going. But, man, I thought, gosh, what a sunny day. But really, it's been a miserable kind of 2 or 3 weeks, hasn't it? Lots of rain, constantly, people really underwater, losing property. We've had loss of life. It's been really tough. And lots of people, if you've had water in your basements or first floors, I'm so sorry. It's just been not fun. And we still contend with it, right? They're still pumping water out on North Shore trying to get a low spot to get to. So it's all been kind of tough. I know for me, was it 2 weeks ago, Saturday, that, it had been raining, and then Saturday it was going to rain a whole lot. And my neighborhood, what they've done is they've put in a lot of construction. So, what's happened, we don't have any storm drains where I am, and they cut all the trees down. So my street becomes a kayak run. I'm not joking, when it's kind of just barely raining. I walked out yesterday in that barely rain, put my toes out, had my boots on, and the water was over my toes already on my street. I went, oh, this isn't going to be good. So guess what happens when you get 9 inches of rain? I went, oh, no. So all day long I was watching it rain on the street, come into my yard, come down my driveway, fill up my driveway. And I kept watching as it got closer and closer to the house, and I'm not joking. Got within about 18 inches. Just kept getting closer. I thought, this is bizarre. Anyway, so that I didn't get wet, thankfully. I thought, I came to church. We had a great Sunday. That Sunday at church, everybody were refugees. We all wanted to get out of the house. It was fun getting out. And then I got my car and headed home. I was feeling great. The sun was out, if you remember. And Lois called and said, you probably need to come to Maryville because Mom and Dad's house is underwater in the basement. I went, oh, no. So anyway, head over to Maryville, spend all day trying to slog through that, go back on Monday, slog through all that again, to get me to Monday evening. So it's late afternoon. I roll up in the street, and KUB, in their wisdom, is putting new gas lines in my neighborhood. So when I got in, there is dirt everywhere, my yard included. Every yard is torn up. And guess what dirt and water make? Yeah, so I had lots of mud. And I get out of the truck and get on my Suburban, and I am soaking wet. I've got wet towels. I'm nasty. I got stuff that I've mopped up with, and I'm thinking, so I went in the house. I was going to strip off. I was going to wash everything, just start throwing stuff in the laundry. Go up and hit the shower. So I turned the hot water on just to wash my hands because it's got mud everywhere, and I don't have any hot water because they've cut off my gas. Oh, great. Oh. So then I'm kind of thinking, I can't wash mounds of stuff that's laying here. And then I thought, Lois was admitting, I was going to cook. I don't have any gas for my stove. And thirdly, it was getting chilly, and I have gas heat. Oh, great. And about that time, every bit of that water started washing over me. I was livid. I went upstairs. And I just happened to see this, and I don't even know why I didn't see it before. Lois had grabbed it off the front door and put it on the refrigerator. A KUB notice. And then I glanced at it. Oh, they're going to turn off my gas. And I'm even madder. I'm doing a Mark Williams mad. Have you ever seen Mark mad? I'm telling you, I'm so mad. My head's spinning. And then I look down, and I see a name. And then I did the worst, stupidest thing I've ever done. I picked up the phone. And this is no joke. It is so embarrassing. Don't tell people you know me because I let loose. The phone, he answers, I start wailing on him. I mean, wailing on him. Didn't say any dirty words, but I said, I work for a living. How dare you? And then I realized I'm talking to his voicemail. All right, so I kind of calmed down. My blood pressure drops back to about 170 over 125 or something. Anyway, I get back. Okay, let's see how this is going to be. And then I pick this thing back up, and I'm standing there looking, and I start reading it. And it's funny when you read the fine print, all the stuff you find out you should know. Yeah, like you can call, we'll turn your gas right back on. I'm like, oh, golly. So I go back to the phone, walk of shame, pick the phone back up. So then I say, Sam, if you haven't listened to that message that I just left, please don't listen to it. And if you have, I am so sorry. That was so unbecoming. That was so wrong. I apologize big time. I felt like a creep. I couldn't believe it. I said, thank you for all you do, and then I hung up. I felt terrible. So about 3 hours later, the guy came. The KUB guy did arrive, and I'm not. If y'all know Gil Hansen here, he's bigger. He was bigger than Gil. He gets out of his truck, and I'm thinking, I'm going to have a talk with this guy too, tell him what I think. He gets out of the truck. I'm not exaggerating. He's about Paul Ruff's height. He's about 6'5", and his shoulders were this big. I'm serious. I kept looking at him. He's like this. I'm going like, holy smokes. He's so nice. Turns the gas on. Everything comes on. He starts to leave. I walk him out. I didn't give him any of my opinions. By the way, I'm not that stupid. I am kind of stupid. So I walk him out to his truck, and he says, I'm so sorry. I should have been here 2.5 hours ago. He said, literally, I was going to come immediately. He said, but you realize how many people are still underwater? People are just desperate. They're soaked. We're all bailing. He said, we're doing everything we can, and I'm feeling lower and lower as he talks. And then he says, and he said, and now I started your house, and I got an emergency call. I had to go out near Bluegrass. He said that a gas line broke. And he said, literally, it's going to explode. I had to go cut it off. By then, I wanted to be on my knees. I'm serious. I was so embarrassed. And then he said, and then I couldn't come back. I had to go all the way around the city to get back to you. And by then, I said, please, just get in your truck. Just get in your truck. I mean, I was done. I was done with it. So, life gives us some tests, doesn't it? And, I didn't do very well with that test. I really didn't. But that's okay. Because, in tests, we learn some things about ourselves. You get tests as well. We all get them. And what do we see? Well, one thing I'll tell you, we get to see what we're made of. I wasn't made of much that day. And we get to really think about our perspective. When life is challenging and difficult, how am I really? I didn't really kind of want to see what was in the mirror, but I got a good up-close look at John Ross. Not blowing smoke at you. I'm really mean this. I got a really good look at me, but also what's inside of me, or maybe what's not inside of me. But when it was all said and done, when I thought about it, I thought really our tests in life, regardless of age, even with our youngest children, is really an opportunity for them to experience and taste their humanity. We are human after all. It's real, and it's really important to know that. You see, that's what the story today is. Jesus is in the wilderness testing his humanity. You get that, don't you? He really is. The Spirit has led him up into the wilderness on this mountaintop to be by himself, to spend 40 days, it says, a long time, at self-examination. You see, he's not looking out there at KUB. He's looking in here, at his soul and at his life. And I don't want you to get too hung up on the devil stuff. All week we did Bible studies, and lots of people said, I don't really believe in the devil as a, pointy ears and little tail and stuff. What I believe, though, is evil. I said, okay, you got it. The metaphor, the story you see, is we understand evil. We really do. We wrestle. He is wrestling with evil. And I'm going to help you with that. You remember Scott Peck, who wrote the book A Road Less Traveled? He has a great line in there. Remember, what is evil spelled backwards? Life. Or maybe better, life spelled backwards is evil. And all of a sudden, when I thought of that, something came to me about this story that I'll tell you I really haven't ever thought about. You see, Jesus is having the opportunity to see where his life is backwards. And in this wilderness, our wilderness, which is 40 days of Lent, the church always said, maybe you ought to take a look and see where you have some things backwards. You see, we get ourselves out of order. I'm always first. Actually, in life, I'm really not. I don't always put my best foot forward. I can prove that by that phone call, and I hope he's erased that tape of mine. Often I put my worst foot forward, and so do you. And you know, we're all tempted. The hardest thing, I think, the deepest thing, is we're tempted to take the easy road. In other words, what's going to blow off the energy? What's going to make me feel better? What's going to get me to what I think I need or want at that moment? We all do that. Instead of taking the harder road, the higher road, the better road to a better self, which is, who am I really? Who do I want to be? What's really down inside of me? Now, if we were in a Baptist church, you would have just shouted out, amen. You see, we're after a higher, better self. And I take seriously, that's why you're here this morning. And you know what's a privilege is us being this close, I can see you. I can really see you face to face. Remember, we're in this together. I'm not preaching at you. I'm talking with you. We take that seriously. It's a conversation. We're in this together. We are here. You could be anywhere this morning. You are here, seeking a higher, better, purposeful self. That's why we come. That is exactly what Jesus was all about himself. So what did Jesus learn in those 40 days? He learned he has some choices, doesn't he? What am I going to do with this extraordinary ability and skill set? What am I really going to do with this? Have you ever thought to think about that? He is already experiencing himself. He's trying to figure, what do I do with this? What do I do? Do I do the things that, you know, life backwards can tell me? Yeah, have your way. Turn stones into bread. Be in charge of everything. Inflate your ego. Or does he instead follow the way that God chooses for him? That he finds a path that is open to him where the Spirit leads him, as it has led him, do not miss it, into the wilderness. You will be led into the wilderness. It's a promise, not a threat. You see, at those junctures, something often really happens to us and for us. I heard a wonderful story. I was right out of seminary. I was living in Shelbyville, Tennessee. And I had friends, some people I knew that were at the Candler School of Theology in Atlanta. And I was just out of school. And I heard this story that they were telling. It was, some of you remember this, quite a while ago. I'm not a young guy anymore. There was this thing happening. It was hitting the front page of the paper. It was on the nightly news every night. There was this illness, this disease that was overtaking mostly young adults, and we couldn't figure out what it was. We know now, and we have a name for it. It's called AIDS. And there was a young man in the hospital with AIDS. At the time, they didn't know. They just knew it was a disease. It looked frightening. It looked like everybody could catch it, like we once thought everybody could catch cancer. It's true. We really did believe that. Some of you younger folks, we really thought you could just get near somebody and catch these things. There was real fear. And so this young man, the parents called the pastor of the Methodist church, and he came. He got to the hospital, and he got to the room, and he had the nurse open the door. And he stood at the door, and he said hello to the young man, and he read a prayer for him. And he told him, we're going to be with you and pray, and somebody every day is going to stop by to say hello to you. And then he went on his way. Seminary professor heard that story. It hit the grapevine hard and fast. She heard it. She teaches at Candler. And she was thinking about that story, and she went to the hospital later that afternoon. When she got there, she opened the door herself. And she went and got a chair at one end of the room and dragged it right up beside him. And the first thing she did was grab his hand and start talking to him, introduced herself. And then before long, she was almost in bed with him, cradling his head because he was weak as a kitten. He was so ill. And she had him cradled, talking to him, reading to him, and praying with him. Simple. And then she said, I'll be back. Next morning in class, that hit the grapevine too. And everybody heard that story. And the students asked her, and don't take this wrong way, remember where we were then. You have to do a little work here. We can't always say, I want it the way it is now. It's not the way it is now. It's the way it was then. The students said, what were you thinking? How did you do that? What were you doing? And she said, well, I tell you, I was sitting at the desk and I heard that about one of my colleagues. She's a Methodist minister too. And she said, I was thinking about that. And she said, I kept ruminating on it. And she said, something hit me. And she said, and I'll say it her way, I just imagined if Jesus had gotten that call and knew about that young man, what would he have done? And she said, I got up from my desk. You see, Jesus in the wilderness knows he can be a superhero. By the way, if you've ever watched Superman, it's templated on Jesus. It is Jesus. Superman's Jesus. I'm not even kidding about this. He's Jesus with a cape. He can do anything. He rights wrong. He makes the world better. Really and truly, that's where the story comes from. It comes from the story of Jesus. You see, he can be a superhero. He can do it his way. He can have a lot of stuff, and he will have a lot of stuff. And he can do a lot of good. It's nothing wrong with that. Or maybe he can just be a hero. A common, everyday, ordinary human hero. Those kind of people who take, kind of some really extraordinary skills and abilities and do them in a very ordinary way. You see, Jesus found a path to follow. And he stayed on that path, did he not? Because his path was this thing that the world hungers for, compassion. That the world is desperate for, love. That the world can never get enough of, kindness. That the world will always be short of, true respect for every human being. And he knew it. He knew those were the gifts that the world needed. And so he gave them. And it's proof positive, by the way. Remember, the story is whole for us. It's not, we don't make that up. Every time Jesus did a healing or miracle, what did he do? Some of y'all know that. The children know the stories. He went off by himself, didn't he? Always, don't want any of that. Don't give me the credit. I'm fine. He's always saying, they'd say, well, how'd you do that? I don't know. But God is at work. That's all he knew. And he just kept doing it. Don't miss, though, that his pathway has changed the history of humanity. It's changed the history of the world. See, the 40 days, these 40 days are your 40 days. Lent is absolutely 100% about you. Your Lent is not about me. And if that's where you're looking, you're sure looking in the wrong place. Lent is about you and only you. Your spirit in the world. So the questions are, how will you live it? How will you express it? How will you share it? How will you show it? Lent is about you. Parenthetical thought. I was screaming at the TV yesterday afternoon. Kind of what goes around comes around, it's inside me. Not real happy. But I kept thinking, March Madness is here. This is going to get better. We'll get past this loss. It's going to be great. And it occurred to me something I really not thought of, kind of a fun image that I'll leave with you. You see, we're all in a basketball game right now, every one of you. It's one-on-one. It is one-on-one with yourself. There's nobody else on the court. It's you. It's your time. And you know what my guess is? You will find out, too, like Jesus did, it's pretty wonderful to be human. It's pretty wonderful to be human and giving it away. Amen.